Rose froze, her heart pounding as she crouched behind a stack of hay bales just outside the barn. Miracle pressed close to her side, her body tense but silent, as if she understood the need for stealth. The man's voice inside the barn was joined by another, higher-pitched and agitated. "I checked the whole damn place last night. There's no dog here. Maybe Crane got bad intel." "Crane doesn't get bad intel," the first voice snapped. "That dog is worth a fortune, and he knows it's around here somewhere. Keep looking." Rose's mind raced. These men were Crane's lackeys, searching for Miracle. The barn was supposed to be a safe haven, yet here they were, violating the sanctuary of Martha's farm. She glanced at Miracle, whose amber eyes gleamed with a mix of fear and defiance. Rose placed a hand on the dog's head, silently urging her to stay quiet, and pulled out her phone to text Officer Wilson. "Intruders in barn. Looking for Miracle." She hit send, praying the message would go through despite the spotty signal on the farm. The men's voices grew louder, their footsteps crunching on the barn floor as they moved closer to the door. Rose's grip tightened on the pepper spray Daniel had given her, her fingers trembling. She wasn't a fighter, but she'd do whatever it took to protect Miracle and Tommy. Miracle let out a low, almost inaudible growl, her body shifting as if ready to spring. "No, girl," Rose whispered, her voice barely a breath. "Stay." To her relief, the dog obeyed, though her muscles remained taut. The barn door creaked open wider, and one of the men stepped out, a wiry figure with a shaved head and a cigarette dangling from his lips. He scanned the yard, his eyes narrowing as they swept over the hay bales. Rose held her breath, pressing herself lower. The man took a step forward, then stopped, muttering something under his breath before turning back to the barn. "We're wasting time," he called to his partner. "Let's check the cottage next. If the dog's here, it's probably with that kid and the old lady." Rose's blood ran cold. They knew about Tommy. Had they been watching longer than anyone realized? She needed to get back to the cottage to protect her grandson, but moving now risked exposing them both. Miracle's ears flicked toward the barn, and Rose felt the dog's body tense further, as if sensing something she couldn't. Before Rose could decide what to do, a new sound cut through the morning mist, the low rumble of an approaching vehicle. Headlights pierced the dawn, bouncing over the uneven dirt road leading to the farm. The men in the barn froze, their voices dropping to urgent whispers. "It's a cop car," the wiry man hissed. "We gotta go now." Rose peeked around the bale, her heart leaping as she recognized Officer Wilson's cruiser pulling into the yard. The second man, stockier with a shaved head, bolted from the barn, clutching a crowbar. The two sprinted toward a dark sedan parked behind a cluster of trees, its tinted windows glinting in the early light. They scrambled inside, the engine roaring to life as they sped off, kicking up gravel. Officer Wilson leapt from his cruiser, weapon drawn, shouting for them to stop, but the sedan was already disappearing down the road. He lowered his gun, cursing under his breath, then turned as Rose emerged from behind the hay bales, Miracle at her side. "Rose, are you okay?" he called, jogging toward her. "We're fine," she said, her voice shaky. "They were looking for Miracle. They mentioned Crane and said they'd check the cottage next. They know about Tommy." Officer Wilson's jaw tightened. "They're getting bolder. I got a partial plate from last night, and now I've got a better description of the vehicle. We'll find them." He knelt beside Miracle, who was still tense but allowed him to stroke her head. "Good girl. You gave us the heads up again." Rose glanced at the cottage, her thoughts racing to Tommy. "I need to check on him." "Go," Officer Wilson said. "I'll secure the barn and call for backup. Don't let Tommy out of your sight until we sort this out." Rose hurried back to the cottage, Miracle keeping pace despite her condition. Inside, she found Tommy still asleep, curled up with Biscuit, oblivious to the danger that had just passed. Relief flooded her, but it was tinged with dread. Crane's men were closing in, and the farm was no longer the safe haven they'd hoped for. The plan in motion. By mid-morning, the farm was a hive of activity. Officer Wilson's backup arrived. 2 additional officers who swept the property for any signs of further intrusion. Martha, shaken but resolute, insisted on making breakfast for everyone, her hands steady as she cracked eggs into a skillet. Dr. Nathan arrived shortly after, having been called by Jenny to check on Miracle after the morning scare. "She's stressed," Dr. Nathan said, examining the dog in the cottage's small living room. "Her heart rate is elevated, and the puppies are more active than I'd like. We need to keep her as calm as possible." Tommy, who had woken up to the commotion, sat beside Miracle, his small hand resting on her flank. "She's scared because those men were here," he said, his voice steady despite the worry in his eyes. "She says they're the same ones who hurt her before. The one with the cigarette smells like the boss's shoes." Dr. Nathan exchanged a glance with Rose, his expression a mix of skepticism and curiosity. "Tommy, that's a very specific detail. Are you sure?" Tommy nodded, unfazed. "Miracle remembers smells better than anything. She says the cigarette man was always with the boss when they hurt her." Officer Wilson, who had just returned from speaking with his colleagues, overheard the conversation. "That could be useful," he said, pulling out a notebook. "Tommy, can you tell me anything else Miracle says about these men?" Tommy frowned, concentrating. "The cigarette man called the other one Joey. Joey was meaner, but he was scared of the boss, too. They kept Miracle in a place with a red door, and there were other dogs crying all the time. She says it smelled like oil and smoke, and there was a loud machine that hummed all night." Officer Wilson scribbled quickly, his face grim. "That sounds like an industrial area, maybe a warehouse or garage. We've suspected Crane operates out of a place near the Old Mill District. This could help narrow it down." Rose felt a surge of pride mixed with unease. Tommy's connection with Miracle was proving invaluable, but it also made him a target. If Crane's men realized a 5-year-old boy was providing information that could dismantle their operation, what would they do? The plan to trap Crane was finalized that afternoon. Officer Wilson explained that they would proceed with the staged veterinary appointment, but with heightened security. Miracle would be transported to the satellite clinic in a police vehicle, accompanied by Dr. Nathan and an armed officer. Undercover officers would be stationed throughout the area, posing as civilians, while a SWAT team waited nearby in case Crane or his men made a move. "We'll leak the appointment time through a source we know Crane monitors," Officer Wilson said, addressing Rose, Daniel, Jenny, and Martha in the cottage's kitchen. "He'll think it's his chance to grab Miracle, but we'll be ready. The goal is to catch him or his men in the act of attempting to steal her, ideally with enough evidence to tie them to the dog-fighting ring." "What about Tommy?" Rose asked, her voice tight. "I don't want him anywhere near this." "Agreed," Officer Wilson said. "Tommy stays here with Martha and one of my officers. The farm will be under surveillance, and we've installed motion sensors around the perimeter. No one will get close without us knowing." Tommy, who had been listening quietly while stroking Miracle, spoke up. "I want to be with Miracle. She needs me to tell her it's okay." Rose's heart clenched. "Sweetheart, it's too dangerous. You've done so much for her already. Let the grown-ups handle this part." Tommy's eyes filled with tears, but he didn't argue. Instead, he leaned down and whispered to Miracle, who licked his face gently. "She says she'll be brave, but she wants me to promise we'll be there when she comes back." Rose knelt beside him, pulling him into a hug. "We'll be right here, Tommy. I promise." The sting. The next morning, the air was thick with tension as the plan was set in motion. Miracle was loaded into a police van, her movements slow but steady, with Dr. Nathan and a female officer named Sergeant Lopez at her side. Rose watched from the cottage window, her hands clasped tightly, as the van pulled away. Daniel stood beside her, his presence a quiet comfort. "They'll keep her safe," he said, though his voice carried a trace of uncertainty. Rose nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Tommy was in the living room, reading to Biscuit from a worn copy of Charlotte's Web, his voice steady despite the occasional glance toward the door. Martha bustled about, keeping busy to mask her own nerves, while Officer Chen, a young but capable officer, patrolled the property's perimeter. At the satellite clinic, everything proceeded according to plan, at least at first. Undercover officers reported a suspicious vehicle circling the area, matching the description of Crane's sedan. Inside the clinic, Miracle was settled in a secure room with Dr. Nathan and Sergeant Lopez, who monitored the situation via radio. The dog, sensing the tension, stayed close to Dr. Nathan, her ears twitching at every sound. Then, chaos erupted. A second vehicle, a beat-up pickup truck, pulled into the clinic's parking lot, and 3 men emerged, moving with purpose toward the back entrance. Officer Wilson, stationed in an unmarked car nearby, radioed the SWAT team to move in. But before they could fully deploy, one of the men, a burly figure with a scar across his cheek, smashed a window and attempted to force his way into the clinic. "Move, move, move." Officer Wilson shouted into his radio as he sprinted toward the building, his team converging from all directions. Inside, Sergeant Lopez drew her weapon, positioning herself between the door and Miracle, while Dr. Nathan tried to keep the dog calm. The scarred man didn't make it far. The SWAT team apprehended him before he could breach the inner room, and the other 2 men were caught trying to flee in the pickup. To everyone's shock, the driver of the sedan, who had been watching from a distance, was none other than Victor Crane himself. He attempted to speed off, but a roadblock set up by Officer Wilson's team stopped him cold. Crane was arrested, his face a mask of cold fury as he was cuffed and read his rights. In his car, officers found documents linking him to a dog-fighting operation in the Mill District, including photos of Miracle and other dogs, as well as a ledger detailing puppy sales. The brand in Miracle's ear, which had been removed during her initial treatment, matched a symbol found in Crane's records, providing the evidence needed to tie him directly to the illegal operation. Back at the farm, Rose received the call from Officer Wilson just after noon. "We got him," he said, his voice tinged with exhaustion but unmistakable relief. "Crane's in custody, and we have enough to put him away for a long time. Miracle's safe, and she's on her way back to you now." Rose sank onto the couch, tears streaming down her face as she relayed the news to Tommy and Martha. Tommy threw his arms around her, then ran to Biscuit, who yipped excitedly as if he understood. "Miracle's coming home, Biscuit. And the bad men can't hurt her anymore. Miracle's puppies." 2 weeks later, Miracle's strength had continued to improve, her wounds healing into faint scars that told the story of her survival. Her belly was now noticeably round, the puppies growing stronger each day. Dr. Nathan estimated she was just days away from giving birth, and the entire household, Rose, Tommy, Martha, and even Biscuit, prepared for the event with a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. Tommy had taken to calling the puppies Miracle's Miracles, a name that stuck as he meticulously arranged their box, adding extra blankets and a soft toy lamb donated by Jenny. "They'll need something to cuddle with," he explained, his voice serious. "Miracle says babies like soft things." The night of the birth arrived unexpectedly, just as a late summer storm rolled in, bringing thunder that rattled the cottage windows. Miracle grew restless, pacing and whining softly, her eyes seeking Tommy's. Rose called Dr. Nathan, who arrived with Jenny just as the first puppy was born, a tiny, squirming black and tan bundle that Miracle immediately began to clean with gentle licks. Tommy sat cross-legged beside her, his eyes wide with wonder. "She's doing great, Grammy," he whispered. "She's not scared anymore. She knows her babies are safe." Over the next hour, 5 more puppies arrived, each one healthy and vigorous despite their mother's ordeal. Dr. Nathan, monitoring closely, marveled at the outcome. "This is nothing short of miraculous," he said, shaking his head. "Given her condition when you found her, I wouldn't have believed she could carry a litter to term, let alone deliver such healthy pups." Jenny, who had been assisting with towels and warm water, smiled at Tommy. "You were right to call her Miracle. She's a fighter, just like you." As the storm quieted outside, the cottage filled with the soft squeaks and whimpers of the newborn puppies. Miracle, exhausted but content, lay curled around her litter, her eyes half closed as Tommy gently stroked her head. Rose watched, her heart swelling with pride and gratitude. This dog, who had endured so much, had not only survived but brought new life into the world, a testament to the resilience of love and kindness. A new beginning. In the weeks that followed, the farm became a haven of joy. The puppies grew quickly, their playful antics bringing laughter to the cottage. Tommy named each one Hope, courage, faith, joy, spirit, and love, insisting that Miracle had helped him choose names that matched their personalities. Hope likes to explore, he explained, and courage is always the first to try something new. Officer Wilson's investigation into Victor Crane's operation bore fruit. The evidence from Crane's car, combined with Tommy's eerily accurate descriptions of the dog fighting setup, led to a raid on a warehouse in the Mill District. There, police found dozens of dogs in deplorable conditions, along with records that implicated Crane and several associates in a multi-state dog fighting ring. The dogs were rescued and placed with shelters and foster homes, and Crane faced charges that would likely keep him behind bars for years. Rose, Tommy, and Miracle remained at Martha's farm, as their apartment had been too badly damaged by Crane's men to return to immediately. Martha, who had grown fond of her new housemates, offered them the guest cottage indefinitely. "This place is too quiet without you," she said, ruffling Tommy's hair. "And those puppies need space to run." Daniel and Jenny became regular visitors, often bringing supplies or simply spending time with the growing canine family. Daniel, who had been so instrumental in Miracle's rescue, found himself drawn to Rose's quiet strength and Tommy's boundless compassion. Over time, a gentle friendship blossomed, with hints of something deeper that neither was ready to name. Dr. Nathan continued to monitor Miracle and her puppies, noting with amazement how Tommy's presence seemed to accelerate their recovery. "I'm starting to believe in that gift of his," he admitted to Rose one day, watching as Tommy played with the puppies, Miracle watching protectively nearby. "There's a science to empathy, but what Tommy has goes beyond anything I've studied." Rose, who had once dismissed Tommy's claims as childish imagination, now saw them in a new light. Her grandson's ability to connect with animals, to understand their pain and hope, was a rare and precious gift, one that had saved Miracle and changed their lives. She thought of her daughter, Tommy's mother, and wondered if she had seen this gift in him, too, before her life was cut short. One evening, as the sun set over the farm, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Tommy sat on the porch with Miracle and her puppies, who were now old enough to tumble playfully around him. Rose joined them, settling into a rocking chair with a cup of tea. "Grammy," Tommy said, looking up from where he was tickling Hope's belly, "Miracle says she's happy now. Really happy. Not just because her babies are safe, but because she has a family." Rose's throat tightened. "She told you that?" Tommy nodded, his smile radiant. "She says we're her forever home. And the puppies too." Rose reached out, pulling Tommy into a hug. Miracle, sensing the moment, rested her head on Rose's knee, her tail wagging softly. The puppies piled around them, a warm, wriggling mass of life and love. "We're family," Rose agreed, her voice thick with emotion. "All of us." The story of Miracle spread through the community, first through local news outlets and then, thanks to a viral post on X, across the country. People were moved by the tale of a 5-year-old boy and his grandmother who risked everything to save a dog no one else had noticed. Donations poured in to cover Miracle's veterinary bills, and soon, Rose found herself with enough to repair their apartment and even set aside a small fund for Tommy's future. But more than the money, it was the messages that touched Rose's heart, stories from people who had been inspired by Tommy's compassion to adopt shelter dogs, volunteer at rescues, or simply listen a little harder to the world around them. One commenter on X wrote, "Tommy reminds us that innocence and kindness can change the world. Thank you for sharing Miracle's story." As winter approached, the puppies found loving homes, carefully vetted by Dr. Nathan and Jenny to ensure they would never know the cruelty their mother had endured. Miracle, however, stayed with Rose and Tommy, her scars a badge of survival, her gentle presence a constant reminder of the power of second chances. On a crisp November morning, Rose, Tommy, and Miracle sat together on the farm's porch, watching the puppies, now with their new families, romp in the yard during a reunion organized by Martha. Daniel was there, tossing a ball for courage, while Jenny helped a young couple learn how to handle Spirit's boundless energy. Officer Wilson stopped by, too, his smile wide as he watched the scene. "You did good, kid," he said to Tommy, who was nestled against Miracle's side. "You and Miracle took down a bad guy and saved a lot of dogs." Tommy grinned, his eyes bright. Miracle did the hard part. I just listened. Rose looked at her grandson, her heart full. In a world that often seemed cruel and indifferent, Tommy's gift, his ability to listen, to love, to see beyond the surface, had sparked a chain of events that not only saved Miracle but brought light to countless others. And as Miracle's tail thumped against the porch, surrounded by her human family, Rose knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Character analysis. Tommy, the heart of the story, a 5-year-old boy with an extraordinary gift for understanding animals. Compassionate, empathetic, determined, and wise beyond his years. His ability to hear animals, particularly Miracle, drives the narrative, turning a chance encounter into a mission to save not just one dog but an entire network of abused animals. Tommy's journey is one of validation. Initially, his claims about understanding animals are met with gentle skepticism by Rose, but as the story progresses, his gift is recognized by others, Dr. Nathan, Daniel, Officer Wilson, affirming his unique role in the world. His unwavering belief in Miracle's desire to live and protect her puppies showcases his resilience and moral clarity. Tommy is driven by an innate sense of justice and love for animals. His connection with Miracle is almost spiritual, reflecting a deep empathy that transcends ordinary communication. Tommy's grandmother and primary caregiver, a pragmatic yet compassionate woman thrust into a dangerous situation. Practical, protective, and initially overwhelmed by the responsibilities of raising Tommy and caring for Miracle. Her love for her grandson and growing attachment to Miracle push her to overcome her fears and financial constraints. Rose evolves from a cautious, practical woman skeptical of Tommy's claims to someone who embraces his gift and finds her own courage. Her decision to protect Miracle, despite the risks, mirrors Tommy's compassion and marks her growth from resignation to active defiance against cruelty. Rose's primary motivation is to protect Tommy, but her bond with Miracle deepens her resolve to fight for justice, reflecting her rediscovery of hope and purpose. Miracle, the catalyst for the story, a German shepherd who embodies resilience and the capacity for trust despite unimaginable suffering. Brave, loyal, and intelligent, her physical scars and pregnancy symbolize both her past trauma and her hope for the future. Miracle's arc is one of physical and emotional healing. From a near-death state in the dumpster to a protective mother, her recovery parallels the restoration of hope in Rose and Tommy's lives. Her trust in Tommy, despite her history of abuse, underscores her remarkable spirit. Survival and the protection of her unborn puppies drive Miracle. Her connection with Tommy suggests a mutual reliance, as if she recognizes him as her savior. Daniel, a supportive ally who bridges the gap between Rose's small family and the broader effort to save Miracle. Kind, dependable, and quick to act. His background as a neighbor with a veterinarian sister makes him a pivotal figure in the rescue. Daniel's role grows from a chance helper to a trusted friend, hinting at a potential romantic connection with Rose. His willingness to get involved, despite the risks, shows his moral strength. Daniel is motivated by a sense of justice and compassion, particularly after seeing Miracle's condition and Tommy's dedication. Daniel's sister and a veterinary assistant who provides critical medical support for Miracle. Skilled, empathetic, and proactive. Her expertise and connections with Dr. Nathan are vital to Miracle's survival. Jenny's role is primarily supportive, but her growing admiration for Tommy's gift and her proactive steps, e.g., researching Crane, deepen her impact on the story. Jenny is driven by her love for animals and a desire to see justice served, particularly against those who harm defenseless creatures. Officer Wilson, the law enforcement figure who facilitates the legal battle against Crane. Dedicated, protective, and strategic. His experience with dog fighting investigations makes him a key player in dismantling Crane's operation. Wilson's initial role as a responder evolves into a protector and strategist, culminating in the successful sting operation. His trust in Tommy's insights reflects his openness to unconventional evidence. Motivation: Wilson is driven by a desire to stop animal cruelty and protect Rose and Tommy from harm, seeing Miracle's case as a chance to finally bring Crane to justice. Dr. Nathan, the veterinarian who provides medical expertise and validates Tommy's gift. Compassionate, professional, and curious. His scientific background contrasts with his growing acceptance of Tommy's abilities. Dr. Nathan's arc involves moving from skepticism to belief in Tommy's gift, as he witnesses Miracle's remarkable recovery. His willingness to work pro bono reflects his commitment to animal welfare. Dr. Nathan is motivated by a lifelong dedication to healing animals and a fascination with Tommy's unique abilities. Officer Wilson's sister, who provides a safe haven for Rose, Tommy, and Miracle. Warm, resilient, and no-nonsense. Her farm becomes a sanctuary, reflecting her nurturing nature. Martha's role is supportive, but her quick acceptance of Rose and Tommy into her home shows her generosity and strength. Martha is driven by a sense of family and community, eager to protect those in need. Victor Crane. The antagonist, a cruel and calculating figure running a dog-fighting ring. Ruthless, manipulative, and greedy. His obsession with reclaiming Miracle for her puppy's value drives the conflict. Crane remains a shadowy but menacing presence, his downfall a result of his own hubris and the evidence provided by Miracle and Tommy. Crane is motivated by profit and control, viewing dogs like Miracle as commodities rather than living beings. Months later, as spring bloomed across the farm, Rose, Tommy, and Miracle stood together in the yard, watching the last of the puppies, head off with her new family. The community had rallied around their story, and the puppies' adoptions were celebrated as a triumph of compassion over cruelty. Tommy, now 6, had started school, where he proudly shared stories of Miracle and her miracles. His teachers noted his kindness and unusual empathy, qualities that drew other children to him. Rose, meanwhile, had begun volunteering at a local animal shelter, inspired by Miracle's resilience and Tommy's gift. Miracle herself thrived, her coat now glossy, her scars barely visible except to those who knew where to look. She followed Tommy everywhere, her loyalty unwavering, her amber eyes bright with contentment. Biscuit, ever the faithful companion, had taken to napping with Miracle, their bond a quiet testament to the family they had built. As Rose watched Tommy and Miracle chase each other through the grass, she thought of the journey that had brought them here, from a rainy night in a park to a farm filled with love and hope. The world was still a place of cruelty, but in this moment, surrounded by the laughter of a boy and the joyful bark of a dog who had defied the odds, Rose knew they had made a difference. And somewhere, in the stories shared on X and beyond, Miracle's legacy lived on, reminding people that even the smallest act of kindness could change the world.